I woke up in the ICU with tubes in my arms and a doctor telling me someone had been poisoning me for months. That someone was my own son and his wife. My name is Eleanor Brooks. I am 62 years old, and this is my true story. 3 weeks ago, I collapsed in my living room. 1 minute I was making tea, the next everything went black. I remember the sound of my body hitting the hardwood floor. I remember thinking, this is it. This is how I die. I didn't die that day. But I came very close. When I opened my eyes in the hospital, the first face I saw was my son Lucas. He was holding my hand, tears in his eyes, telling me how terrified he had been. Behind him stood his wife Lindsay, looking pale and concerned. "We've been so worried about you, Mom," Lucas said softly. I believed him. I believed both of them. Until the doctor pulled me aside and said the words that shattered everything I thought I knew about my family. "Mrs. Brooks, the levels of heavy metal in your system are extremely high. This didn't happen overnight. Someone has been giving you small doses consistently for months." I stared at him, my mind refusing to accept what he was saying. "Who?" I whispered. The doctor looked uncomfortable. "We don't know yet. But whoever it was had regular access to your food or your medication." Regular access. The only two people who had daily, unrestricted access to my house, my kitchen, and my supplements were my son Lucas and his wife Lindsay. The same son I had raised alone. The same daughter-in-law I had welcomed into my home with open arms. They didn't want me to get better. They wanted me gone. Slowly, quietly, without raising any alarms. For the house. For the savings. For the inheritance they believed they deserved more than I did. And the worst part? I had almost let them succeed. For most of my life, I believed I had a normal, loving family. I had one son, Lucas. After years of raising him on my own, I thought we were close. When he married Lindsay, I was genuinely happy. She seemed kind, attentive, and caring. They moved into their own place, but they still came to visit often. Then, about a year ago, everything started to change. Lucas began coming over more frequently. He said he was worried about me living alone. Lindsay started visiting every single morning. She would make me breakfast, organize my pills, and make sure I took my daily vitamins, a special supplement she said was perfect for women my age. "You need to stay strong, Mom," Lucas would say on the phone every evening. "We love you. We just want you healthy." I was touched. After so many years of being independent, it felt good to be cared for. At first, the symptoms were small. I was more tired than usual. My hands trembled sometimes. I had headaches and nausea. I told myself it was just aging or stress. Then the dizziness started. Some days I could barely stand up without the room spinning. I went to my doctor. He ran tests and said my kidneys were showing signs of stress, but nothing critical yet. "Take it easy," he told me. "And maybe cut back on the supplements." When I mentioned this to Lindsay the next morning, she looked so concerned. "Oh no, Eleanor. Those vitamins are the good ones. My friend's mother swears by them. You really should keep taking them. I'll bring you a stronger formula next week." So I did. Because I trusted her. Because she was family. Over the next few months I got sicker and sicker. I lost weight. My hair started falling out. I was exhausted all the time. But every time I felt bad, Lucas and Lindsay were there, bringing food, making tea, holding my hand, telling me how much they loved me. I started to feel guilty for even doubting them in my weakest moments. I told myself I was being paranoid. Until the day I collapsed on my living room floor and woke up in the ICU. The doctor's words still echo in my head. Someone has been poisoning you. And the only two people who had constant, daily access to my food and my medication were my son and his wife. They didn't want me to get better. They wanted me to die. For the house. For the savings. For the inheritance they thought they deserved more than I did. I should have suspected something earlier. But when you're grieving and lonely, it's easy to mistake control for care. At first I was grateful that Lindsay came every morning. She made breakfast, organized my pills, and handed me the vitamins with a smile. Lucas called every evening to make sure I had taken them. They both told me how much they loved me and how they couldn't lose me too. I wanted to believe them. So I ignored the little things that didn't feel right. Like the way Lindsay watched me swallow the pills, waiting until I finished the glass of water. Like the way Lucas would casually ask if I had taken my supplements before he even said hello. Like the way my symptoms seemed to get worse on the days they visited, not better. I told myself I was being paranoid. Grief does strange things to the mind, I thought. But the dizziness kept getting worse. Some mornings I couldn't even stand up without holding onto the wall. My hair was falling out in the shower. I was losing weight so fast that my clothes started hanging off me. One afternoon I decided to skip the vitamins. I hid the bottle in the back of the cupboard and didn't tell anyone. The next day I felt clearer than I had in weeks. The day after that, Lindsay arrived with a new, stronger bottle. "You really need these, Eleanor," she said, her voice sweet as always. "The doctor said they're important." I looked at her smiling face and felt a cold knot form in my stomach. That was the first time I truly wondered if the people who said they loved me most were the ones making me sick. But I still didn't want to believe it. I told myself it was impossible. Lucas was my only child. Lindsay was the woman he chose. They wouldn't do this to me. So I kept pretending. I kept taking the vitamins when they were watching. I kept smiling and thanking them for taking such good care of me. But inside, a quiet, terrible suspicion was growing. And every time Lindsay handed me the pills, every time Lucas asked if I had taken them, that suspicion grew a little stronger. I was no longer just sick. I was starting to become afraid of my own family. The doctor's words kept repeating in my head like a broken record. "Someone has been poisoning you." I lay in that hospital bed for hours, staring at the ceiling, trying to make sense of it. The nurses came and went. Machines beeped steadily around me. But all I could think about was Lindsay handing me those vitamins every single morning with that sweet, caring smile. And Lucas watching me take them. When Lucas and Lindsay came back to the room later that afternoon, I looked at them differently. For the first time, I wasn't seeing my son and daughter-in-law. I was seeing two people who might have been trying to kill me. Lucas sat on the edge of the bed and took my hand. "How are you feeling, Mom?" he asked gently. I looked straight into his eyes. "Who's been poisoning me?" I asked. The room went completely silent. Lindsay froze near the door. Lucas's hand tightened around mine for a split second, then went limp. What? What are you talking about? He stammered. The doctor just told me, I said, my voice surprisingly calm. Someone has been giving me heavy metals. For months. The only people who had access to my food and my pills every single day were you two. Lindsay's face went pale. She took a small step backward. Lucas laughed nervously. Mom, that's crazy. We've been taking care of you. Taking care of me, I repeated slowly. Or making sure I got sicker? He stood up quickly, letting go of my hand. You're confused, he said. The medication they gave you is messing with your head. We love you. We would never. Stop lying to me. My voice was quiet, but it cut through the room like a knife. I reached under my pillow and pulled out the small plastic bag the nurse had given me earlier. The one containing the broken vitamin capsule I had hidden days before I collapsed. I held it up between us. I stopped taking them, I said. And the next day I felt better. The day after that you brought me a new bottle and told me they were stronger. Lindsay's eyes darted to Lucas. Just for a second. But I saw it. Lucas swallowed hard. His usual confident mask was cracking. Mom, you don't understand, he whispered. Then explain it to me, I said. Right now. He looked at the floor. The silence stretched so long it became unbearable. Finally, in a voice so small I barely recognized it, he said. We needed the money. The words hit me harder than any diagnosis. We needed the money, he repeated. The house, the savings, everything. Lindsay and I, we have debts. Big ones. We thought if you got sick slowly, if you passed away naturally, everything would go to me. No fighting, no questions. Lindsay started crying softly in the corner. I never wanted it to go this far, she whispered. We thought it would be quicker. I stared at them both, the two people I had trusted most in the world, and felt something inside me break, and then go very, very cold. You poisoned me, I said slowly, so you could get my house faster. Lucas didn't deny it anymore. He just stood there, shoulders slumped, looking like the little boy I once carried on my hip. And in that moment, the last piece of my heart that still belonged to them died. I pressed the call button for the nurse. When she came in, I looked her straight in the eyes and said, I need security. And I need to speak to the police. Right now. Lucas took one step toward me. Mom, please. Don't, I said sharply. Don't you dare call me Mom ever again. The police arrived within 20 minutes. I told them everything while Lucas and Lindsay stood frozen in the corner of the hospital room. I showed them the broken vitamin capsule I had hidden. I gave them the name of my doctor and the toxicology report. I even handed over the new bottle Lindsay had brought me just days earlier. Lucas tried to speak, but I looked at the officer and said calmly, I want them both removed from this room. And I want a restraining order. Lindsay started crying. Lucas looked at me with wide, desperate eyes. Mom, please. We can fix this. I didn't answer him. For the first time in my life, I didn't try to fix things for my son. The officers escorted them out. I heard Lindsay sobbing in the hallway. Lucas kept repeating, this is a misunderstanding, until the door closed behind them. That night, I lay in the hospital bed and stared at the ceiling for a long time. The next morning, my attorney arrived. I told her the full story. She listened without interrupting, then said, "We have enough for criminal charges. Attempted murder, conspiracy, financial exploitation. This is going to be ugly, Eleanor." "Good," I replied. "I'm tired of things being quiet." Over the following days, the investigation moved quickly. The police searched Lucas and Lindsay's apartment. They found large cash withdrawals from my accounts over the past year. They found more of the same supplement powder in their kitchen cabinet. They found emails between them discussing how long it would take and how to make it look natural. Each new piece of evidence felt like another knife in my chest. But I didn't cry. I was done crying for people who had tried to kill me. Lucas was arrested first. Lindsay followed 2 days later. When they were taken into custody, I was sitting in my hospital room looking out the window at the parking lot. I didn't feel joy. I didn't feel triumph. I felt exhausted. And strangely, free. The district attorney came to see me personally. He said the case was strong, and they were going for maximum charges. I told him I would testify. I told him I would tell the jury exactly what my son and his wife had done to me. And I meant every word. The weeks that followed were some of the hardest and most healing of my life. I left the hospital weaker than when I arrived, but clearer in my mind than I had been in years. I went home to an empty house that no longer felt haunted. I changed the locks. I installed cameras. I finally threw away every single bottle of those vitamins that had almost killed me. For the first time in a long time, I was alone, but I wasn't lonely. I started walking every morning. Not because I was afraid, but because I wanted to feel my own body getting stronger again. I sat on the porch swing where Thomas and I used to sit and drank my tea in peace. I began cooking meals just for myself and actually enjoyed them. Lucas and Lindsay are awaiting trial. Their lawyers have tried to reach me several times. I haven't answered. I don't need to hear their excuses anymore. Some nights I still lie awake thinking about how close I came to dying at the hands of my own child. The pain is still there, but it no longer controls me. I've started seeing a therapist. Not because I'm broken, but because I want to make sure I never again mistake manipulation for love. I'm learning to trust my own instincts again. And most importantly, I'm learning that my life is mine. Not my son's. Not my late husband's. Not anyone else's. Just mine. I used to think that being a good mother meant sacrificing everything for my child. Now I understand that being a good mother also means refusing to let that child destroy me. I am 62 years old. I am still here. I am still breathing. And for the first time in decades, I feel like I'm finally living for myself. Life did not return to what it was before. It settled into something new. I am still 62 years old. I still live in the same house. I still drink my tea on the porch swing every morning. But I am no longer the same woman who once opened her door to her son and daughter-in-law with a grateful smile. I learned the hardest lesson of my life. Sometimes the people who say, "I love you," the loudest are the ones who can hurt you the most. I spent years believing that being a good mother meant sacrificing everything, my comfort, my safety, my instincts, for my child. I ignored red flags. I made excuses. I convinced myself that love required silence and forgiveness, even when that silence was slowly killing me. I was wrong. Love should never cost you your life. Family should never mean giving someone permission to destroy you. And trust is not a duty. It is a privilege that must be earned every single day. I also learned that strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it is quiet. It is changing the locks. It is pressing the call button for the nurse. It is saying no when everyone expects you to say yes. It is choosing yourself when the people who were supposed to protect you chose themselves instead. Today I am still healing. My body is getting stronger. My mind is clearer. And my heart, though scarred, is no longer bleeding for people who never deserved it. I am no longer just a mother. I am no longer just a widow. I am a woman who survived the people who were supposed to love her most. And that is enough. This was my true story. If you are watching this right now and you are carrying a secret that is slowly destroying you, if someone you love is making you sick, making you doubt yourself, or making you feel small, if you have been silent for far too long because you thought it was the right thing to do, I want you to know this. You are not alone. You are not crazy. And you do not have to stay silent anymore. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is simply tell the truth, even if your voice shakes when you say it. If this story touched you, please leave a comment below and tell me, what would you do if you discovered the people closest to you were the ones hurting you the most? And if you have your own story, one you've never told anyone, you are safe here. Share it if you feel ready. If you want to hear more real, raw stories like this, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. New stories come out every week. Thank you for listening to my truth. I'm Eleanor, and this is her true story.